Hey, this is Brian Waymeyer with Health Gains Coaching, and today I wanted to talk about AEDs. Most of the time, you're not ever going to need to use an AED, but it is good to be able to know how to use it if you do. Obviously, you need to have one to be able to use it, so you need to be mindful of an AED when you see it and try and remember its location. There are also apps that can help you find a nearby AED. The app that I used while I was working security, mostly to be aware of the fire rescue traffic around the university, was Pulse Point. Next, and more importantly, you need to be able to determine if you actually need to use an AED. If you see somebody who's unconscious, who's not breathing, who doesn't have a pulse, then you should be clear to actually use an AED. So if you find somebody in this state, the first thing you should do is call 911 to get fire rescue rolling. If you could have somebody else call 911 while you start CPR, that's preferred. I'll do a video on CPR. You could watch that video here. A 911 dispatcher can also help you to determine if you should use an AED. Though the unfortunate thing is, if you find somebody who needs CPR and AED, and if you're the only person there, and you don't have the AED with you, then unless it's close, you really shouldn't leave the person. You should start CPR immediately, call 911. Realistically, you might only be able to use an AED if it is close or if there's somebody who can grab it. CPR and AEDs work best in conjunction with each other, but CPR is better than nothing. Once you get an AED to the scene of the incident, then you could start using the AED. Once you open up the AED, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of the times it'll just turn on automatically and start talking to you. Other times you gotta hit the power button. It should start guiding you through the process. I'll show you an example.
Remove clothes from patient's chest. When patient's chest is bare, open gray plastic case and peel off white adhesive pads. Look carefully at the pictures on the white adhesive pads. Peel one white pad from the gray case. Place pad exactly as shown. Press firmly to bare skin.
So when applying these AED pads, the top pad on the body, sometimes there can be a pacemaker there. If there happens to be one, you don't want to place it directly on top of it. You want to place it just maybe under it to the side a little bit. For women, if they happen to have a breast implant, you don't want to put it on the breast implant either. Also for bras, there's concern about the metal wiring in there, so a lot of the times they're just snipped right away, taken off, so you don't have to worry about that affecting the AED's shock. From my research, this is obviously a hot topic because people don't want their bras ripped off, especially when they're unconscious. And from what I've seen, fire rescue can't waste minutes trying to figure out if there's wiring in the bra. You can't ask the person who's unconscious because obviously they're unconscious, and they can't really go feeling their bra because that would be like groping them. It's easier to snip it, remove it, so you don't have to worry about the shock being affected. Trying to save the person's life. It appears to be the standing operating procedure, and I think the only way women are going to get that to change is if the majority of, or maybe even all, Underwire bras are no longer metal. If no bras had metal in them, then the guidelines would probably be changed. Also, for whatever person you're putting the pad on, if there's an excessive amount of hair in the way, then you're probably gonna have to shave that. There may be a disposable razor with the AED, but if not, it might just be out of luck with that. Also, if a woman is pregnant, it appears that it is safe to use an AED on somebody who is unresponsive and not breathing, needs an AED. You just don't want to put the second one on the abdomen. If you think about it, the mom is dying, and if the mom dies, the baby would probably die, so you need to save the mom's life. As far as using an AED on a child, if you're lucky, there will be child pads in the AED case. If not, you could use one of the two adult pads. And once you got to the point you've applied the pads, the AED will start to analyze and determine if a shock is needed, and then once the shock is needed, it may do it automatically, or you may have to press the actual shock button. And obviously you want to make sure no one is touching the patient as the shock is administered. Hopefully the first shock would help the patient recover. Though they may need a couple shocks, you may need to continue CPR and AED interchangeably. You may have to wait for fire rescue to come and take over. They may need to be transported. But even if the patient needs to end up going to the hospital, the fact that you've provided emergency CPR AED use will drastically improve the chances the patient lives. That'll be it for this video on AED use. I highly recommend getting CPR and AED certified. Usually those are going to be done at the same time. Get certified for both. You may never have to use it, but knowing how to can save somebody's life. If you have any other topics you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, take care.